love.
'Zarya is a tank class character in the game of Overwatch, and today we're going to be looking at how she can be used effectively. And Zarya has 6 main abilities that we're going to look at right now. Energy. Zarya spawns with 0 energy and can gain a maximum of 100 energy. Energy is gained when her particle barrier or projected barrier absorbs damage at a rate of 1% energy for every 4 points of damage absorbed. For every 1 energy Zarya has, the damage of her particle cannon is increased by 1. Energy will slowly decay over time at 2% every second. Maintaining a high level energy is critical to Zarya's gameplay. At low energy levels, Zarya isn't much of a threat. At high energy levels, Zarya is a significant damage dealer that the enemy team ignores at their peril. Particle Cannon. This is Zarya's main weapon. The primary fire, when held down, shoots out a hit scan beam that deals continuous damage to the first enemy it hits. The secondary fire consumes more ammunition and shoots out a grenade-like ball of energy that detonates when it hits an enemy or solid surface, dealing damage in an area. This detonation will damage Zarya as well. The damage will be negated by particle barrier but does not return any energy. The primary fire is useful for taking down single targets, while the secondary fire is useful for taking out groups or hitting particularly evasive enemies like Tracer. Particle barrier. Zarya will completely surround herself with a barrier for a brief period of time, absorbing a large amount of damage and making her immune to all negative effects, while the barrier holds. Damage dealt to the particle barrier contributes to her energy. Be cautious when activating particle barrier. It has a lengthy cooldown time and a short duration, leaving Zarya vulnerable during the time when it cools down. Don't activate it unless your enemies are already firing at you. Particle barrier is best used when you predict a sudden incoming burst of damage, such as running into a Reaper around a corner or when you see Junkrat's rip tire getting within explosion range. Particle barrier behaves differently compared to normal barriers, acting more like additional health than Reinhardt's barrier field. Attacks that normally pass through a barrier and deal damage, such as Winston's Tesla Cannon, will still have their damage and effects absorbed by the particle barrier. Projected barrier. Zarya grants the targeted ally a barrier that will completely surround them for a brief period of time, absorbing a large amount of damage and making them immune to all negative effects, while the barrier holds. Damage dealt to the particle barrier contributes to Zarya's energy. This ability auto-targets the ally closest to Zarya's crosshairs. Projected barrier behaves otherwise identically to particle barrier in terms of damage absorption and immunity to negative effects. Much like particle barrier, the short duration of project barrier means that you must choose an ideal time to use it. Predict when an ally is about to take a large amount of damage and use it to both keep them alive and to keep yourself energized. Gravitation Surge. This is Zarya's ultimate ability. Zarya fires an energy projectile in an arc. When the projectile impacts a solid surface, it creates a temporary gravity well that continually pulls in all nearby enemies and deals damage to them over time. Although Gravitation Surge is not a devastating ultimate on its own, it is easily one of the most powerful ultimates in the game when coordinated with other ultimates. Zarya is an extremely challenging tank to play, though one of the most rewarding when played well. She gains energy by absorbing damage with her barrier abilities, increasing her own damage substantially. At maximum energy, she is a monstrous threat to any team, tearing them apart in seconds with her particle cannon. Her ultimate has some of the highest playmaking potential in the game, with the ability to trap entire teams in a single spot for her allies to fire upon. All of this comes with a severe weakness though. She is the softest of tanks. With the lowest base health out of all of them and only an infrequent short duration barrier to protect her and her team, she can easily be killed. A good way to consistently gain energy is to engage your opponents before activating particle barrier. Their enemies will have less time to react and stop hitting your barrier if they're already firing at you. And if your enemies don't know her abilities, they'll just try and shoot the barrier anyway and try and break it. Projected barrier is one of Zarya's strongest abilities. It gives a single ally a substantial increase in health, allowing them to absorb more fire than normal, as well as giving you energy. Allies like Reaper and Roadhog benefit immensely from Projected Barrier, especially when they are using channeled ultimates, as it will stop them from being interrupted temporarily. Gravitation Surge is one of the trickiest ultimates in the game to use correctly, but it is really devastating when deployed at the right time. It is also one of the slowest charging ultimates of any hero, making proper use of it is critical. In general, pay attention to the assault heroes on your team and wait for their ultimates to be up before deploying Gravitation Suit. Try to fire the projectile so that it will land in the center of the enemy team in order to catch as many of them as possible. When combined with an ultimate like Reaper's Death Blossom or Pharah's Barrage, you can easily wipe out an entire team in a single blow. Using it when none of your allies have their ultimates will usually always result in only 1 or 2 kills at the most, or possibly even no kills if the enemy team has their Reinhardt blocking most of the damage. And of course, there are 2 classes that can counter Zarya effectively and efficiently, and they are Junkrat and Pharah. Zarya's limited range and mobility makes her relatively easy prey for Pharah, and Pharah's ultimate also puts out enough damage to burn through Zarya's extra shield when necessary. Junkrat is also a good option, again thanks to his high damage output and ability to engage Zarya at a range where she can't really do much about it. Zarya is good at protecting herself and one other character. She can't absorb fire for an entire team like other tanks can, which makes her additionally weak to Junkrat's mass area of effect damage. And let me know what you guys think. I want to know what you guys think of Zarya and her ability as a tank and your experiences with her and playing against her. I really want to know, so fill that comment box down below, guys. And thanks for watching this in-depth guide to Zarya from Overwatch. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment to my channel to see more awesome content. Later.